Earl here, welcome to Tenacious Sports. History Maker Golf's tournament mode is a popular way to carry out a highly realistic, yet time-efficient professional golf tour simulation. I will be breaking down this process into 3 parts. The first one here will cover up through the cut, which happens after the second round. Heidi ho! Tenacious Earl here, and got HMG, History Maker Golf, out here on the tabletop again. And while I have it here, I think the next logical step in the progression of these how-to videos would be a how-to on doing tournament mode. So we just did match play, and before that we did some of the basics of the game itself on how to do the readings and all that stuff. I really haven't played that many tabletop golf games. My impression from watching others' videos, just a brief amount of them, is that being able to play a tournament in a lot of the other golf games is pretty difficult because, you have a field size of a certain amount, usually like 156, and if you're modeling a tournament after what you would find on the PGA Tour, you're going to have a field that is just way too many to feasibly play out in a short amount of time. So we have this tournament mode, which in History Maker Golf makes it extremely convenient. So I'm going to show you how to do this on the tabletop. No fancy spreadsheets. Let's get into tournament mode and just first off say, you could be thinking about starting a tour. That's pretty cool. That's what I did. That's what a lot of people do. You could just say, I want to just try a tournament. And that's cool as well. What you need to first do is decide on your field. Some people might just say, I'm going to take the whole darn set that I got from play and play the field. I don't know how many are in it. Maybe it's 164. I don't know. I don't care. I'm just playing. That's great. If you're playing a tour, and you're going to start utilizing concepts such as participation levels. There's a nice article on the Play website. I'll try to link it in the comments here. If you start trying to use tournament participation and say, okay, well, golfers usually participate 55 to 70% of the tournaments. Rarely do you see anybody go out and participate in all 100%. Or even 90%, even 80% would be a bit rare. It may happen, but it's not very often. What it usually is in this 55 to 75%. So, what I'm going to show you next is what I have done. So this is going to be a slacker tour event. I have 2 tours that I run. I have the Tenacious Golf Tour, which I've shown many videos on the channel of that, which it's kind of an analog to the PGA Tour. The Slacker Tour is what you would now call the Corn Ferry Tour, what a lot of people think of as the Nike Tour, which is sort of a feeder, basically, to get to the Tenacious Golf Tour. One of the best ways to do that is to succeed at the Slacker Tour level. And so I haven't put much of that at all on the channel, but I feel like this is a nice way to do it because it's fictional guys not for the most part. They are fictional players. I have a lot of custom cards here, so there's really no preconceptions of any, even from a lot of my play here on the channel. You would rarely have any preconceptions about any of these guys. So that's good. So you kind of get a fresh view of this. So, but like I was saying, you want to have your field figured out, and you're going to want to take your cards and make sure that whatever field you're planning to use, especially if you have things like tracking spreadsheets or anything like that, or if you're using, I know Reggie Bowers has an application that he has released, which is free if you go to the Play Facebook page. It works pretty well, as far as I can tell. It may work for your tour, but you want to make sure that your field matches whatever your tournament's going to be, right? Like, you don't want to get to, and I've been there. You get to the end of all of what you do with tournament mode, and then you go and you try and put in who made the cut and who missed the cut, and you start doing the cut guys, and you find like 5 guys who weren't even supposed to be in the field, and you're like, oh man. And that's not as bad as if you get guys to the weekend and then you end up with a guy in your final groups who wasn't supposed to be there. Then you're basically going back to the beginning. So that's one of the early lessons that I want to give to you is determine your field. If you're going to use the cards on your tabletop and do what I'm going to show you here, make sure your cards that you're using are the same thing that you're planning on having play out the tournament. Okay, so that's that. Let's get to tournament mode. Okay, so first off, this is how I would do my field. Okay, so you can see here I've got basically, what is this, 16 piles. So there's 10 in each pile. So I would go through my field and I would come out into piles of 10 and make sure that I've got everybody in here that I have. So we've got all of these up to here are 10, and then there's 6 here, so that's a 56. This is actually somewhat in order of priority. That's another thing that I use in my tour is a priority ranking. So this is the same weekend as the Sawgrass Championship, which is on the channel, the final round. But some of these players, some of the players who would qualify for this tournament, being in a good spot last year in the tour, it's sort of a continuum on the PGA Tour, the priority. You have the best golfers, and then you have all these guys that come up from the Korn Ferry Tour, and you have some others. Well, if some guys aren't available, then they get pulled in. And so as guys who are farther down the priority rank, if they come into a tournament that not, like it's a what I would call a C tier tournament, like a low prestige tournament, and finish well, they may actually have enough money to make some of the invitationals. And so that's why I actually had to create some golfers here that are even further down the priority list, because I had to rule some guys out. They were available at Sawgrass, so they wouldn't be available for this tournament. So anyway, that's the kind of planning that you may want to do. You may not. You may just want to be playing a tournament right off the bat and not worry about it. But so at this point, what you need to do is you need to take these cards and you need to, in whatever fashion you want to, shuffle them. Okay, so I have these sleeved up, so that makes it a little easier, but and in theory I probably should now turn these upside down, and I'm going to do the best I can. So let's do that. This one's already upside down. Let's get these guys turned over, and these guys. All right, and then I'm just going to kind of, I wish I had one of those bingo balls that you get like that. That would really do a good job of randomizing them. The sleeves, I feel like in certain ways also help to keep them from sticking together, because a lot of times these cards do like to stick together. The card stock is particularly apt to stick, but you just want to do the best you can here. It's not the end of the world if you don't get the greatest randomization. So alright, so I'm getting these guys somewhat homogenized here into a pile. So might as well just go ahead and start talking about what's going to go on as we start this process. So tournaments are almost always 4 rounds long on the PGA Tour. There used to be tournaments that were 5 rounds, where it was more of a pro-am, and they would often hold it on 3 or maybe even 4 courses, because you'd have more golfers involved with not only the pros, but the amateurs, it would just add. You'd not only have your base field for the tournament itself of the pros, but then you'd have amateurs who were also involved. So that's how the way they do it. And they still do it that way at Pebble Beach, although they only use, I think, 3 courses, and it's still a 4-round tournament. And they finish at Pebble Beach on Sunday, but they rotate Pebble and then usually like Spyglass Hill and maybe Cypress Point, or there's a couple of other ones there that are in Poppy Hills or something like that. So anyway, they're usually 4 rounds, and so the way that they take usually 156 golfers or a rather large field and dwindle it down is they cut the tournament in half to start, and that's what we're going to start with here is the cut rounds. What they've decided is the typical what we're going to take into Saturday and Sunday would be somewhere between 70 and 80 golfers. It could be sometimes, I think in recent years they may have made it 65 golfers on the PGA Tour, up to like 80. Sometimes you can end up with more, and then what would happen is that you'd take the ties into Saturday, and then at that point, whoever drops to the lowest point to make it under 80, I think, would then end up being considered missing the cut, and they would make no further money or something to that effect. It's not 100% clear to me, but you can just take whatever way you want to do it. If you want to do it that way, you can, or if you want to pay them a relative pittance compared to what they could make if they won the tournament, that's up to you. But what you do is you basically cut it in around half. You end up with around 70 or 80. And that's what we're going to do here to start. And then from there you take Saturday and you simulate that. But we're going to start by doing the cut rounds. And what I would suggest you do, I've used rather large index cards here. You don't have to do that. You could just use regular sized ones. I just had these handy at the moment. So I would make 4 of them. I would make an outstanding, I would make a makes cut, a misses cut, and an injury. And hopefully we get a chance to see all these play out, but the injury one is a little rarer than the rest, but let's see. So we have all these guys piled up into a big pile. What do we do now? Well, first off, if you have followed the tour, you know that when you go Thursday and Friday that they're split into morning and afternoon pairings. And that's what we're going to do here. So don't stress if you don't get it right on the money, but just try to ballpark, half and half. And a couple of them got out of order here, but that's okay. They're not ordered in any fashion anyway, and it's supposed to be random, right? So so that one I put over there is going to be the afternoon groupings, and then these are going to be the morning. And so what we do then is we split these guys into about half, and then we take this one, and you can do it a couple ways. Lately, what I've been doing when I do this, usually I use some spreadsheets to make it a little easier, but I would just split like that and then split this again. So I'm going to try and get all of these on camera. It kind of gets tough. So then I'll split this one into 2 halves, like so. So there's 8, or there's 4. Now let's get these other 4. We'll do it the same way. Just kind of eyeball half, and then do another half. Good. Good. And then this one we need to do half of. We'll do that. And this. Okay, so 8 piles. Next up, we need to then use a chart which comes with the game. I'm not going to show it here on camera. I'm hoping you buy the game, but it's pretty easy to follow. It's basically the tournament rules or tournament mode chart that's really a helper. But we take 2 dice. They could be the same color for all intents and purposes, but I'm going to use the black and white that come with the game. The order doesn't matter as far as the color of the dice. It's just ascending order, just like as you're playing the game. So, if we get 14 here, it doesn't matter if it's a 4 on the white die or a 4 on the black die, it's still 14. But let's roll out our first pile. Okay, 16. So we get a 16. What do we do here? So you look at the chart. Now, a little shortcut that I can give you for some of these rolls is that if you take what the target, the high number is going to be the target golfers for the most part. Not completely true, but for the most part. And then if you take the lower number is the number of top golfers, usually, that you're going to be selecting. But first you're going to take draw, and so the difference between the large and the small is going to be the top, or the draw golfers you're going to take. Now we've randomized, so this pile here, we're just going to take the top 5 off of this for the 5 draw golfers, which is going to be Rowan Snyder. We're going to put them in the makes cut pile. Dwight Schneider. I like Dwight Schneider. It's kind of a combination of Dwight Schrute and then Schneider from One Day at a Time, if you guys remember that. Barrett Rowland, that's 3. 4, Serge Dunlap, and 5 will be Adrian Rogers. Okay, good. So now we have the top golfer remaining. Now, remember how I told you earlier that if the ties take you up over 80 or whatever, then it's going to be, we would keep them in there. If you can't get to a number that's between that 65 and 80, well, that's going to play out in this process as well, at least in the first 2 rounds. We're going to take the top golfer based on the number that is found at the bottom left of these cards. Adrian Rogers here is 6A. This is called the tournament rating. So I like to think of the tournament rating as kind of like genus and species. 6 is the genus. It has a higher importance on the relative rank. So 6 is better than 7, but 5 is better than 6, and it goes all the way down to 1. And I've seen 7. 7 is the highest in the cards that I have made, and I think some of the other tours have that. So what we're gonna, and then the second number is the species, let's say, and it's like A, B, or C are the letters that are involved there, and the farther up in the alphabet the letter is, the better. So A is better than B is better than C, but the precedent is always going to end up on the first number. So if we turn these over and start looking, we have Duncan Hudson, who's a 7B. We only get the top 1. So Adrian Hyde is top at the moment with 4C. For this set, that's pretty good, and he may end up being the top golfer, 6C. But what I was going to say is, because we take ties, we are going to take them here as well. So if we get another 4C or 2 more 4Cs, they're all going to make the cut in this pile. 5C no, 7B, 7B, 7P. So all these guys, we're going to put them, I'm going to put them face down in the missed cut pile. Adrian Hyde is going to go there. So, and that's the way it works. That's that one. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give 2 strange scenarios, and I'm going to try and play them out in a way that I will then be able to do a random roll and play it out if it doesn't come up. But let's just say we were to get 14 with this second pile, okay? So 14 would be draw 3 golfers. So it'd be these 3. Now the top remaining after that, we go into this pile and we take the top out of these guys, just like we did here with Adrian Hyde. Whatever the lowest number and the letter that's the highest in the outlet. So A. So if it's 3C or whatever, if that's the one, then they become outstanding for 2 of the rolls. Actually, 3 of the rolls, we get an outstanding golfer, and they go over in this pile, and they're going to end up in the 3rd round having some special powers, let's say, or they'll have more power than all the other golfers. Okay, so that's 14. Now 11 is another special. That's 12. Where is it? There you are. 11. 11, we would take this golfer, draw golfer. So this is not on the particular chart here. It's sort of an addendum chart. The draw golfer, which is this one, would become an injury, and then you'd roll on a separate injury chart you can find at the Play website in the free stuff. So that would be where your injuries come from. You can get some till further notice situations, which are conditions that continue on until there are 5 more after it that happen, then you can have up to 5 till further notice is in golf. And then once you get a 6th, the first one ends. And so that's kind of the way that works. But anyway, so the draw one goes to injury. Then you take the top, and the top one goes to makes the cut. And that's it. So just trying to explain to you how that works. I'm not going to show you because now I want to roll it out the way I'm going to roll it out. And it's 12. You can't see this roll. So 12, that means we're going to draw the top one. It was Riker Bolton. We've seen him in some tournaments before. And then the top, other than that, so 5C, 5B, Jaco Pentilla so far is the top. Then McGee, Samuel McGee, Nino Puchner, August Jarvis, Damian Odom, Brendan Mendoza, Lucas Rooney, Ashton West. None of those beat Jaco Pentilla, so he's going to go in the makes cut because it's, remember, draw one and then the top one. And then we'll put the rest of them over there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play out the rest of these off camera. So, and just so you know, my next roll was a 66 out of this third pile, which is draw one outstanding golfer. So I drew him. It's Caden Weiss. And then the rest of these guys, we got Jae-Tae Kung and Cicada, Rolf Basinger. We got a few of the newer PNG cards. They all end up in missed cut, so, or misses cut. So that was a freak thing that happened. All right, so we'll conclude the morning rounds with this last pile. It's going to be 22, which is top 2 only. Okay, so let's see, Sonny Lee, or Sonny Wright can get in there, not Sonny Lee. Let's see. Oh, it's going to be top 2, and we have a couple of 5Bs, but we also have a 4A and Roberto Bastos. So we're going to get Roberto Bastos, Sonny Wright, and Bryce Cadogan. They're all going to make the cut. So that is our morning. Now for afternoon, we're going to do the same exact thing. We'll cut them in half. Cut these guys in half. Cut. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it gets to be a relatively quick process once you get used to it. Take your time. It's easy to make quick, easy mistakes if you're trying to do it too quickly. I'll start with that first pile. It's a 23, so we're going to draw 1. Joel Barrera, and then the top 2. Julian Westermark should be one with a 3C, and then who is going to be left? I see a 4B here coming up. Andy Jansen, 4C Reno Travado, no. 4C Hufen, nope. So those are our 2 top golfers, and I'm going to keep going here. All right, so we have 2 more left here. 12, that's another one where we just draw 1 off the top. Zephaniah Scott. We're going to take the top one aside from that. I see a 5A. Let's turn these upside down somehow. Some of these are upside down. There's a 5A. Nope, 4C. Heike Harula. If I'm saying that name right, Heike will be very happy. And then the last one, another 12. Well, we'll take it. We'll just go with it. Seamus McLean, and then who is our, looks like Thies Bonton. All right, so then the rest of these guys go over here. And we are done with the cut round. So if you want to, you can count these up and see. If you want to be worried about it. If you don't, it's okay. But what I would do is I would take these missed cuts. I have little baggies that I've bought over the years, and these are kind of nice to just, with these plastic sleeves that I have coating or containing the cards, it means I have to use 2 of these now instead of just 1, but they're cheap. So we're just going to go ahead and take all of these guys who missed the cut. We didn't get an injury, so everybody goes home safe, although the guys who missed the cut may go home a little with battered soles to an extent. So put those off to the side. We'll stop here and we'll pick up with the third round part of tournament mode next time. I want to thank Keith and Sam and everyone at Play.com who had a hand in this enjoyable simulation where we can carry out tournaments on our tabletop. Visit playclassic.com. It is PLAAY classic.com to get your copy of History Maker Golf. Appreciate all of you who subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Like this video and comment if you have any questions about any suggestions or any other thoughts on how to better do this part of the tournament. See you next time here on Tenacious Sports.